Social networking is a critical skill for boundary-spanning leaders. We asked leaders in development to discuss this and share examples of someone who excelled at social networking.
I have a friend who works pretty much full-time in the emergency response environment. Often when there's a disaster, he's often one of World Vision's first people to respond to the situation and to assess how we're going to respond to that emergency rapidly. Now, he was very good at the social networking side of things. I do know a number of my colleagues often within an emergency response context kind of avoid receptions and kind of party situations because they kind of feel it's not quite the appropriate thing to do in a disaster environment. And I understand that, but this colleague of mine really saw it as a strategic opportunity. And so, in fact, he amongst his colleagues earned the reputation as the $1 Million Man because he would attend the functions and kind of the official parties that were being held by embassies or various organisations. And with a lot of people coming into an emergency situation very rapidly, you've got other NGOs, you've got multilateral organisations, you've got foreign donor governments coming in themselves with the mandate to respond to the emergency with funds they need to spend. But in those initial days and weeks, they need to try to work out how to channel their funds for maximum impact. Now, whereas someone like me would be more comfortable or I guess default to looking for the grant application opportunities, go through the formal networks, he was quite skilled at meeting people, building a social kind of comfort with people from all these different organisations, and then in fact coming back from some of these social functions, having gained an extra $1 or $2 million for our emergency response in that country, and so instead of using the formal networks to try and demonstrate capacity and confidence, he would be able to share those authentic first-hand stories and plans over a cup of coffee or over a glass of wine, give people the opportunity then to fluidly probe and ask questions, and often as a result, then the rapid response funding would flow from those social situations much more effectively and efficiently than going through the formal channels of applications and vetting and so on.
Okay, so with social networking, my boss is a brilliant example of being a great networker and being able to connect people. What I think drives this is her genuine curiosity and interest in people, and her real commitment to wanting to support others so that she can do the best that she can as well. And this can be demonstrated even in just small things. With interns that come to our office, she'll say hi to them when everyone else is ignoring them. When I go to international conferences, she'll give me advice. For example, make sure that you sit with different people at breakfast and talk to people in the breaks instead of just hanging out with people that you're comfortable with. And also just being caring and making sure that our work is acknowledged and with other people that are higher up, so that they are aware of the work that not only she does, but that we do. And of course, not just being curious, but also always ensuring that her networking skills are up to scratch. I think there is a tendency for us to view networking as a kind of something that is contrived, but actually you can do it in a really genuine and authentic way if you just see others as connecting. And I think journalists do this really well, because as a journalist you have to be interested in the people that you're interviewing, and that really comes across, and respecting their stories and what they can teach you.
In terms of someone who was a boundary-spanning leader, I can give you the example of a colleague of mine who I worked with in Kenya, and the programs that we were recently launching there, they were in very rural communities close to the Somali border, and a lot of them had people who were either in the camp, in the Dadaab refugee camp, or who had recently moved out of the camp and were settling in the neighboring areas to the camp. So this person's skill was very impressive because he was able to go into meetings and build relationships just in a couple of hours. And he was able to put our point across and even agree on certain, some consultations or collaborations with different partners, people we hadn't met before, people who might be very local. The social networking was strong because he knew the local language. He had been in the country for a couple of years, so he knew the key players as well. So you walk into, let's say, even if it's a social gathering and an evening at the ambassador's lounge or a cafe somewhere or a restaurant or a dinner party, you knew who to talk to. You at least had an idea, okay, this person belongs to this organization and they have these linkages. So you've done a bit of your homework, you have a bit of understanding of who I need to target. Because you can meet people there who have absolutely no experience, who might be there just as a tourist. That doesn't really help your social networking. And you obviously don't all have to be geared towards targeting certain people. But if you know there is someone in the room who might be beneficial for your program, who you can build a relationship to achieve a program. This also relates to government officials. Sometimes you don't have those right permissions or approvals, and you know those things happen behind the scenes or under the table rather than in an office room on an afternoon or in the morning, but you know, sometime in the evening when you're socializing. So your skills need to be, obviously you need to have very good communication skills. You need to be able to talk about what your program is without sounding condescending, without you seeming like the best player in town or the best program in the area, but to build a relationship that is respectful and that can guarantee a result that is beneficial for both parties. And this goes in the NGO communities, but also in the government services.